Hi, dear friends. Good morning to all. Dear friends, in this part of the video, we are going to start the new topic in the second term of the TYBSc in Physical Chemistry for the semester 6, which is entitled as Polymers. Dear friends, already we have completed the previous term very successfully, and now we are going to start the online video lecture series for the next term, that is second term, means the semester 6, based upon the syllabus of University of Mumbai. Dear friends, today in this part of the video we are going to start our first topic, which is called as polymers. Actually, you are already having a basic of this topic, or you are much more familiar with this topic because this topic is already studied by you in the FYBSc. Before going to discuss the actual content of this topic, we should know some basic terms in the polymers. So that's why, dear friends, we will talk about something about the basic terms in the polymers, and then we will start our actual topic. Actually, if we will look at this word polymer, then we will come to that this polymer is the word which is derived from two Greek words. One is the poly and the another one is the mer. So you should know what is the meaning of this poly. Poly is the Greek word whose English meaning is many, and mer, it is again a Greek word and whose meaning is a part. It means that this polymer is a many part of the units, or it is nothing but the molecule which consists of the large number or many means the large number of some parts, and that large number of some parts whenever repeated, we are getting a larger structure, we are getting the larger molecule, and that molecule will be called as the polymer. That's why this is important to know the meaning of this polymer, which will be very useful for us to study about or to know about the meaning of actual polymers. So, dear friends, if we will look at the history of this polymer, then we will come to that this polymer is the term which is derived in the year of 1833. This polymer term initially derived in the year of 1833 by means of scientist who is known as James Jacob Berzelius. So this is the term derived by the Berzelius in the year of 1833, and he found that these polymer structures are represented by similar or identical units, identical repeating units, which are so these polymer structures can be represented by repeating similar or identical units, similar or identical repeating units, and these units are joined by means of an covalent bond with one another. So each repeating unit in the polymer is called as the basic unit. Definitely, if you will look at the structure of polymer and the basic unit of the polymer, which is also called as the monomer. So this monomer, whenever compared with the polymer, so this the basic part of the polymer is called as the monomer, which is the repeating basic unit, identical unit of the polymer structure. And the basic difference between the polymer and the monomer is that definitely whenever we will look at the polymer, this polymer it will have the larger structure, higher molecular weight, and the complex structure. But if we will look at the basic part of this polymer, that we call it as the repeating unit, that we also call as the monomer, then the monomer will have very simple structure, it will have a very low molecular weight, and definitely it will have the smaller size also. So dear friends, whenever such type of the simple structure having low molecular weight and the smaller size units are joined together and this is repeated, then we are getting very complex structure having very high molecular weight and the larger size, and that structure is simply called as polymer. I hope you can able to distinguish the basic difference between the polymer. So monomer is the basic unit of the polymer, And whenever such type the basic units, such type the large number of the basic units are joined together, we are getting the very large molecule, and this large molecule is called as the polymer. So based upon the structure of monomer, definitely we will have the different examples of polymer. And if the basic unit of the polymer is ethylene molecule or the ethene CH2 double bond CH2, then it will be repeated in this way, and we are getting the very large or the large chain or the long chain of ethylene molecule, and that long chain of ethylene molecule is called as the polyethene or polyethylene. If monomer is the propene, then it will be repeated in this way, and where we are getting the long chain of this propene molecule, which is simply called as the polypropene or polypropylene. And if the monomer is 1,3-butadiene, then it will be repeated in this way, and we are getting the long chain of this 1,3-butadiene, and that long chain will be called as the polybutadiene. And if we are having the monomer amino acid as the monomer, then definitely it will be joined together, or such of the large number of the amino acids are joined together by means of a peptide bond or the peptide linkage, and this long chain of alpha amino acid is called as the protein molecule, which is one of the important biomolecule in our body. If monomer is the acrylonitrile, then it's a polymer, its a long chain will be polyacrylonitrile. So dear friends, these are some few examples of polymer with their respective monomers. So all these are having the very low molecular weight, simple structure, and whenever these are repeated, they are joined together by means of a covalent bond. We are getting the long chain of their structure, and this long chain is nothing but the polymer. So it will have the very high molecular weight and with the complex structure also. So here one of the important term in the study of polymer that will decide the size as well as molecular weight of polymer, and that term is called as the degree of polymerization. Dear friends, before going to discuss about the degree of polymerization and its significance, you should know what is polymerization. So this polymerization is the process in which what happens, low molecular weight compounds are linked together by covalent bond to form the high molecular weight compounds. So the process in which low molecular weight compounds are converted into high molecular weight compound, then the process is called as the polymerization. But these high molecular weight compounds are called as the polymer, and the low molecular weight compounds are called as the monomer. It means that the process in which monomers are linked together to form the polymer, then the process is called as the polymerization. It means that the formation of polymer from the monomers, n number of the monomers, is simply called as polymerization. So process of formation of polymers from the monomer is simply called as the polymerization. If you look at this process, then here I try to show you. Suppose monomer is indicated by the capital M, and it's a number of monomer involved in the polymerization reaction is indicated by small n. Then we are getting a very long chain of this M in the monomer, and this long chain of monomer is simply called as the polymer. So formation of polymer from the monomer is called as the polymerization. So but how many number of monomers are involved in the formation of polymer, that will be indicated by this number small n, and this n is called as, and this small n that indicates the number of monomers involved in the polymerization reaction is called as the degree of polymerization. It's very important, and that's why simply the degree of polymerization can be defined as the number of repeating unit or the basic unit, or we also call it as the monomers present in an average polymer chain at particular time in a polymerization reaction. Then that number of monomers present in an average polymer chain at time t is called as the polymerization. In a polymerization reaction is called as the degree of polymerization. It means that one thing should be clear to you all. This degree of polymerization simply indicates what? It simply indicates the number of repeating units, that we call it as the monomer. It means it simply indicates the number of monomers present in an average polymer chain in polymerization reaction. So how many monomers are involved in the formation of polymer, that number indicates the degree of polymerization. Definitely this degree of polymerization will have the various significance. It gives the information about various properties of polymer, And the first property that this degree of polymerization decides the size of polymer. It means that if the degree of polymerization is greater, number of monomers means the repeating unit in polymer will be also greater, and definitely the size of that polymer will be also greater. It indicates that this degree of size of polymerization, or we can say this degree of polymerization is directly proportional to the size of polymerization. It means that if the degree of polymerization is greater, size of the polymer will be also greater, or it will be also larger. Again, it also decides the length of polymer, or it measures the length of polymer in, that is nothing but the in monomer units. Particularly the degree of polymerization is helpful to measure the length of polymer. So this length of polymer is measured in monomeric units, and here as degree of polymerization decides the number of monomeric units, that's why we can say that this degree of polymerization also decides the length of polymer. If the degree of polymerization is greater, number of monomeric unit also will be also greater. It means that the size of polymer will be also greater. And due to larger size, this polymer generally called as the macromolecules. So any molecule which is having the larger size, these are called as the macromolecules. And these polymers, but though these polymers are called as the macromolecule, but the important thing regarding with the polymer is that these polymers are the repeating units of the smaller unit, or this is the repetition of the smaller unit. Polymers are always having the repetition of smaller unit, or these are the repeat of the basic unit of the smaller unit. But macromolecules may or may not have the repeat unit or the repeating unit. And that's why there is one example, that is hemoglobin. Definitely it is very larger molecule, it is having very complex structure, and that's why this hemoglobin is a macromolecule. But this, though it is the macromolecule, but it is not a polymer, as it do not have repeating unit, because it is having the whole structure. It is having the only one structure which is as a whole structure, but this structure do not having the repetition of the smaller units, or the repetition of the basic unit, or the repetition of the monomer. That's why this hemoglobin, though it is the macromolecule, but it is not the polymer, because polymer is having the repetition of the smaller unit, macromolecule may or may not have. So dear friends, in this way we try to discuss about some basic terms in the polymers, like what is meant by polymers, what is the definition of polymers, then what is the monomer, and what are the example of polymer with their respective monomer. At the same time, we try to discuss about the degree of polymerization and definitely its significance also. So in this way, it is important to know about something about the polymer with their basic terms. So dear friends, in the next part of the video, we will talk about the classification of polymer. Actually, the classification of polymer can be done on the basis of different criteria, and that's why the classification of polymer is different on the different criteria, and that's why it is very interesting to study about the classification of polymers based upon the various criteria with their respective examples. And that's why, dear friends, in the next part of the video we will resume again to discuss about the classification of polymer based upon a different criteria, and definitely that is the important as well as interesting part of the polymer. So we'll resume in the next part of the video to discuss about the classification of polymer. Thank you very much.